And like all bosun mates, we have sea stories. So I will share a sea story with you today. On January 4th, 1968, a family gathered at a veteran cemetery in Long Island, New York. A contingent of Army men gathered around the casket. A bugler sat in the distance, and 7 men with rifles stood by. A young woman, 20 years old, stood at the foot of the casket. It was draped in Old Glory, our national anthem. She held a 6-month-old child who was saying bye to his father, who he would never know. Today, I'd like to recognize that 20-year-old woman back in 1968, because she's here today. Mama. Also, I'd like to show you the presentation of the flag today was something a little more special than just a regular flag detail, because this flag is over 58 years old. Obviously, you know now that 6-month-old child was me, and that flag was the flag that was draped on my father's coffin. Through my youth after that time, there were challenges. I was like a statistic that all the people talk about. Young, male, Hispanic, in the projects, not a lot of money, but a lot of time and a lot of trouble. My mother can attest to you. Her hair used to be dark brown. There were nights that she would meet me at the door in the early morning hours and say, "Man, I wish this kid would get us together." You know, my grandmother, who was one of the most influential people in my life, and still is, I miss her dearly. She had a saying, and I'll say it because she said it in Spanish, so I'll say it in Spanish as she did. Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. So some of you might say, I see Hector, he sees it, he knows it. Some of you might be saying, what does that mean? My grandmother would say, tell me who you hang with, and I'll tell you who you are. In October 28th of 1991, after years of lack of discipline and a lot of problems, I chose to join the Coast Guard. I chose the people around me to be the good, the honest, the sincere, and willing to lay their life down for me, and me to lay my life down for them. My first unit, the sleek and deadly White Needle of Death, Coast Guard Cutter Midget. If you get a chance to go up to the table, you'll see a picture of me in a Miller bodyboard. You might know them as stretchers. I'm duct taped. I got a pink belly. You can't see that, but it's there because I felt it for a week. They had stripped my boots and thrown them in the ocean, and they paraded me all 378 feet of that boat. It was a different Coast Guard then. Some people might have been aggravated. I wore it like a badge of honor. Some people had departed that boat and not got that. But those guys cared about me. And some of them I still stay in touch with today. over 33 and a half years. As we spoke early, as I said, my father had a military funeral. I'm a big believer in paying it forward. And when I was assigned to Cape May, New Jersey, I paid it forward. I became a ceremonial drill master, and I performed over 30 funerals, military funerals. I presented the flag to loved ones, to mothers, to daughters, to sons, and I took great pleasure in taking on that responsibility. And before I left Cape May, I was able to march in Arlington National Cemetery for the burial of Clark Clifford, Secretary of Defense in the United States. I stood right in front of Joe Louis's gravesite at Arlington National Cemetery. And I said, you know what? I paid it forward. They did it for my father. And then someday, maybe some of you in this room will do it for me. Throughout my career, I've had ups and downs. Some of you might not remember 9/11, or maybe you were in kindergarten, or not around, or just, but me, I was in Woods Hole, Massachusetts, assigned to Coast Guard Cutter Monomoy. I remember we were listening to the radio. I was trying to buy a Danforth anchor, and I was in Fall River, Massachusetts when it came over the radio that we were being attacked. Shortly after that, our phones rang and we were recalled. On September 11th, at 2200 hours, we departed Woods Hole. I reported for the 4x8s on the bridge. When I got up onto the bridge, I seen firsthand, I smelled firsthand the smoke, I seen the lights, I seen the people still evacuating on the East River. For my generation, that's our Pearl Harbor. I hope that as I speak to you today, some of you will go back and speak to others and remind them of the day in New York, or in Washington, D.C. at our Pentagon, or in the fields of Pennsylvania. Good American people lost their lives. We must never forget that. There's too many people in our streets today defacing our flags and defacing our country. There's 1% of us in this world, or in the United States, that choose to put on a uniform. And that 1% has to hold that honor. It has to preserve that memory. We're only a little under 250 years old as a country. So it bothers me sometimes when I see people not appreciate the greatness that we have here today. In the end of my career, everyone always said, well, what are you going to do, John? Where are you going? You going to get a job? You going to, that's the big question. I don't think I'm going to do anything. I think I'm just going to take it easy. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to sit by my pool. Of course, I'm going to have a cocktail or two. Now I'm going to enjoy my family. I haven't always been there. But I want to be there now. So I thank you all for being here. And I hope you enjoyed your lunch, and I hope you enjoyed the ceremony. But most of all, I hope you understand that the men in these uniforms around you would give their lives for you willingly and freely. Some of you guys who are retired, you did your part as well. We'll never forget you, and I hope you never forget me. Thank you.